To raise or not to raise venture capital? That is the question I'm going to address today. It's something that I've been talking with thousands of entrepreneurs. You know, I don't know if you guys know my story, but I've built 5 companies, sold the last 3, and the last 2 were venture backed. So I had raised capital for those companies, and I learned a lot. I learned about what to do, what not to do, how to think about should you raise or should you not. And that's what I want to share with you guys today. You know, the first time when I moved to San Francisco to just kind of discover what was possible. And then I started a company called Flowtown, and I realized I wanted to raise venture capital. The big reason and motivation for me at that time was I'd never done it. I'd built another company prior, grew that, sold it, and I wanted to learn about venture capital, about taking other people's money to help fund your growth. And that was honestly the main reason. I remember talking to my co-founder, Ethan, and I said to him, you know, we had built the business to $20,000 a month in revenue. We were profitable, kind of ramen profitable, and we had to make that decision, are we going to raise or not? And I said, you know, I want to play a big game. I moved to San Francisco. I want to learn how this whole structure works. Let's do it. And that was the main reason for Flowtown raising venture capital. Now, with Clarity, since I've learned a lot of things, and that's what I want to share with you guys today, the main reason I raised for Clarity is because I truly, honestly believed, and still believe, that we were solving a problem that was going to require scale and growth, and it was really an opportunity to invest capital to grow faster. You know, but what I want to share today is 3 things that a lot of people don't think about when they think of venture capital. They think, oh, I've got this great idea, I want to raise money, but what's the impact of that? How's that going to affect your business? How's it going to affect your life? What is the real outcome of these scenarios? Because it's not always as easy as people make it look like, where they raise money and they sell their company and everything was grand. So number 1 I want to share with you guys is really I'm going to say it this way, you have to kill yourself in business. I really shouldn't have said it that way, but the truth is you need to hustle like nothing else matters in the business once you raise venture capital. Because here's the thing, once you take money from somebody else, especially equity for capital, that's VC or angel investing, they require you to do everything in your physical being impossible to be successful. Some people call them, you know, they like to invest in killers or hustlers or whatever it is. But I need you to understand that you need to essentially, if you have to put your head through a brick wall, you are willing to do that, because investors only make money in their portfolio. They invest in 12 companies. Every one of those entrepreneurs got to get up to the bat and swing for the fences. Not get on base, but swing for the fences for their portfolio to work. And I want to share that with you because I don't think a lot of people think about the risk or the sacrifice that they're going to have to take in their business once they raise money for their company. You know, sacrificing the travel. Maybe you got to go live in another city for 3 months to build out this division or a new department. Or maybe you've got to move your whole family to a better part of the world where it's going to allow you to build this business. And those are all things that you need to do. It's your obligations. It's honestly your moral obligation to your investors, because that's the agreement. That's the maybe undiscussed contract between venture capitalists and the entrepreneur, is that you are going to build the biggest business possible with their capital. And I don't think that's always discussed, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that essentially you need to prepare for a zero-based outcome. Like, you need to understand that if you take money from an investor, you have to give 100,000%. Over the next 5 to 7 years, the goal is to build a $100 million company, and there's a high possibility that most of these businesses, 95% of the businesses, will do nothing. They will fail. They will be zero. You will spend 5 to 7 years of your life. Yes, you will have learned a ton. Trust me. The amount of learning that you go from beginning 0 to hyper growth, that kind of business, it's a very small percentage of the population, the entrepreneurial population, that gets experienced that. So yes, there's value in the learning. There's value in the notoriety that maybe you gain for yourself. But in regards to a financial outcome, most of the time it's 0. And I don't think that that's well understood by a lot of entrepreneurs out there. And I wanted to share that with you guys. Now, the third thing that to me is not understood is that you won't likely be in control of your business. Sure, there are examples. Mark Zuckerberg brought his company public, had complete control of the board. What normally happens is by your A round, or for sure your B round, you don't have control into your business anymore. By the time you raise your Series A or your Series B, you'll have enough other investors with board seats that fundamentally they control the business. Sure, as a CEO, as you should, you'll be accountable and responsible to hit certain KPIs, key performance indicators. And just realize that if you aren't able to grow and learn with pace of your business growth, if you're successful in the first place, there's a very high possibility And what's happened many times in the past is that the board will find another CEO. Now that don't mean they're going to kick you out of your business, although that's happened to a lot of friends of mine. It just means that you will not be in control of your destiny. And I feel like that's something, again, that's not discussed very often. There's all these horror stories, but many times they're not horror stories. They're just situations where as the founder, you weren't able to grow with the business. And the board said, look, maybe it's better that we bring in another CEO. Or sometimes they'll call it a COO, but really they run the business and you're just there, and maybe you don't even go into work anymore. Every scenario will play out, but those three things, just quickly to recap, that you need to understand is you need to be willing to sacrifice everything in your life to be successful, because that is the game of venture capital, and that's what you're agreeing to if you raise venture capital for your startup. 2, you need to be okay that at the end of the day, it might be zero. You might get nothing out of it other than the lessons learned and the notoriety building that business. And 3, that you will likely not be in control if the company goes public. You know, I want to give you guys a quick stat. Most people don't realize that a CEO, a founder that's still CEO when they go public owns about 5% of the company. Now, if the company goes public and is worth $1 billion, that's a lot of money. But a lot of people don't know that, and that's why I wanted to share with you guys this video. So to raise or not to raise, that is the question. At the end of the day, I wanted to share with you guys the expectations from the investors, from yourself, from the community, your employees, what the vision is if you take money, because I think that that's going to allow you to make the better decision. I want to ask you below to leave a comment and answer this question. What would you do with the money if you could raise the money? Tell me, in your business, what would you invest that money from the VCs in your business to help it grow? Again, 5 to 7 years, $100 million a year business, what would you invest in? I want to challenge you guys all to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday.